Harry Friedman, who has been the head honcho of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, the showrunner and executive producer, has decided to step down after 25 years on the air. 72-year-old TV veteran, he told staff of his decision Thursday, August 1st, meaning this broke after we wrapped up. Actually, because we taped on Wednesday, we taped Wednesday night, and it broke after we put this up to the Patreon backers. He's calling it a career, which pretty much also explains why Mike Richards got hired on by Sony.
Unless it's the reverse, right? I mean, this was when I was asked to discuss this on WOTI a little bit. They thought, and I'm not sure about this either way, I can't confirm it or deny it, that Harry was gently nudged out, and it was essentially basically a formality at that point. And I think he was essentially hired to replace Friedman. But whether or not that was a forced move or not, I can't say about that. But it's certainly an interesting hypothesis that really has not been bandied around all that much.
No, honestly, I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Column A is kind of tired. Column B, they're kind of suffering because they used to be the 1 and 2 game show. Now some days they're the 2 and 3.
I mean, right? They used to be the number 1 and 2, the pee and the poo, and now they're just reduced to vomit. If you talk about the bodily functions
No,
and
more like
numbers.
just like poo and vomit.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, no, really though. I mean, the thing is though, I think I just find it remarkable when you consider the audiences that Jeopardy gets where it's the biggest show, like New York is the big one that comes to mind there. But I'm surprised. Well, actually I shouldn't be because Feud airs so often, and Jeopardy at least is at most is going to be aired twice in a given 24-hour period. So I mean, I think they do. I think Wheel in particular needs a shakeup, and I think that's going to happen. Jeopardy, I don't know really what more they can or they should do at this point.
Um,
I think what I would do, and maybe it's just me, I think the publicity they got from James is I would make the clues easier, more than they are. Because at that, as much as you're rewarding signaling device speed, and that's what it is at this point anyway, honestly. And that's not a knock on Jeopardy. I just think it is with how easy it is these days. But with that said, if you make it easier, you're going to make it a little bit. You're going to make it well. Maybe you should make it harder actually, but I think you want to try to gear it so you have more super champions because the publicity they get for it is tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
it is tremendous. Like we had this 2 years ago from Austin Rogers when he made his run, and he made it fast enough where he qualified for the Tournament of Champions. And because his defeat did not air yet, he was still eligible, leading to the hilarious line after he was defeated, "I'll see you tomorrow."
Yeah,
Because he was pretty much told, "Hey, even though you're defeated, you're going to come back in a couple of days because we're taping our Tournament of Champions."
yeah.
Um,
I mean, if you're going to go out, that's the best time to go out. You would think.
yeah. Um, this is kind of like you're going to see a lot of change happening soon with the Sony game shows, especially mainly with Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, because and a lot of it has to do to age. Um, age on one of the shows of its show for one of the shows, and age of everyone who's hosting or in some cases announcing. Because you have Wheel that, by the look, has not aged since what, 2001? When did they have the neon board?
But I think they changed a little bit between them, but not much. It was like a little bit of a sex change between then and now. But it's been about 15 years, give or take a few. It's due.
Yeah. And also freshen up the wheel.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I feel like if I was in charge of Wheel, I had absolute control. I would make the puzzles a little bit more modern. I'd make them a little bit more spicy. I really think I would go a little bit more risque than they do.
Mm-hmm.
There is no downside to doing this. The older demographics are still going to watch this show, and you are going to introduce new demographics because it makes for easy viral moments. Is it forced a little bit? Sure. But I mean that doesn't mean it doesn't work in terms of like a 5 second snippet that you can use on a social media platform to discuss this person actually just said this on TV to win this. Like,
And they've had a couple of those, and they've been missed opportunities. Like Adam, we talked about a mutual friend of ours, Adam, who was at a taping, and he relayed the information that one of the contestants afterwards, he said you're going to see a very hilarious moment on one of the shows. Let's not be spoilerish. He said the episode I was at is airing today. The contestant said, I think the puzzle was, what are you doing? Taking a cold shower. And the contestant said, taking a gold shower.
oof.
Now, you can listen. Now, what happened was there's a couple of Snickers in the audience, but that's kind of hilarious to, the dirty minds out there. That could have been a good viral moment.
Yeah.
But it was just dismissed. The problem with Wheel is that they have so many good opportunities for viral bloopers and stuff like that, but it's just missed nowadays.
Well, the problem is I see with Wheel in particular, and compare with Family Feud and even Jeopardy, because look at what Jeopardy did with Trivia Nationals. They posted that they were there. Maggie Speak played some games, the contestant coordinator. What a difference. Family Feud instigates the conversation. Wheel is a trailer. For those that don't know what the word trailer means in this instance, it basically means they're not the runner. The runner is the one that gets to it first and makes the moment happen. It's somewhere else that winds up getting the moment first, which is great for those sites, but it's terrible for Real because at that point it's already out there and they're not getting the requisite social media input that they should from that. And that's hurting, at least I think it's hurting their specific brand in social media with younger demographics.
Right, we talked about this with Robert Santoli around this time last year. They need to be more proactive on social media, like what Jeopardy is.
Yeah,
and it's coming to bite them in the behind.
Is an interesting example, I think. His episode was preempted for about half the country because March Madness, which I get. That's that time of year. You really are not going to do that for what's now a multi-billion-dollar package that CBS and Turner pays for that. But Wheel was not the one to get this out. Reddit was the one to start this. Like, again, nothing against Reddit, but Robert did like essentially an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and then it blew up from there and went all over the country. If you have an episode like that, and they've done it before because a lot of people don't know this, Autumn Earhart's $1 Million Win was rescheduled to be May 30th because it was the 30th season, he was 30, and it was season 30. So they went to be very cute about that. So they moved it to them.
Yeah.
If you have an episode like that, you need to plan accordingly. Wheel is not a show anymore that requires specific viewing order in a given week. You need to adjust for your schedule and take advantage of slots where your best shows, your more probable shows to go places, are adjusted accordingly. And as much as I don't think the Autumn Earhart one made much of a difference, granted they moved it to a day that historically of the week that gets better views. It was done to match up with the 30 theme, which nobody would ever think of except for the people who really care about the show. And that's not who you need to market to when we're talking about rescheduling a program.
Like, you kind of need to front load those for a season.
Yeah, just put them
nowadays.
Put them like somewhere in the week, or make sure they actually get seen by your viewing audience. That's what's critical. If they're not seeing your best episodes, then what are you trying to sell to your viewers, right?
Like a duck, so to speak. But we need to get back to Friedman. He's going to stay on until May 1st, 2020. And he says about this, I think all of you know how much I love these shows, and I deeply respect how hard you've worked to make these so successful. When you talk to both staffs, And he talked to both staffs on the Jeopardy stage, not the wheel stage, but the Jeopardy stage. Celebrated a lot of milestones together. And now, with my own personal 25th anniversary milestone just a few months away, it felt like this was the right time for him to step away. And he's going to try to make both seasons the best yet. I think Jeopardy's already shaping up to do that because you got a hot Tournament of Champions coming up. And if I were to play armchair EP showrunner with, you did it with Wheel, I'm going to do it for Jeopardy. There are a couple of rules I would change.
All right.
1, teen tournament winners are eligible for the Tournament of Champions.
Yep, I agree with that.
And with that, Tournament of Champions are now every year instead of every 2 years.
Would that dilute the pool too much, though? Like, I mean, just to play devil's advocate about that. That's the only thing, because the clue difficulty to reflect that, and you also want the player challenges to defeat, are also drawing that as well.
No.
I probably wouldn't, but do you think it would?
No, it would not, because regular play would still be open to 11 or 12 spots. Because every year is a teacher's tournament every year, which gets into the tournament. College championship, which naturally gets into the tournament. Teen tournament, which, if I were to armchair, gets in. And then that leaves 12 other spots. And I would do something different than what they did for this year's Tournament Champions. It is based on how many games you win. Because if they had gone by how many games you've won, we would not have the rematch. And they had to find some way to justify it, because we've had 5-time champions on there who won less than Emma. Because they won between 75 and 85,000, where Emma in 3 days won about 95,000.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to see them use Quariat for that, but that won't happen.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. Or maybe what they can do is wins per average money won per the average money won per game, and with the minimum at 4. Because if you take a look at the old Tournament Champions and how they did it, 5-time champions got in first, and then top non-winning 4-day winners. That's how they did it beforehand, before you had the college championship and the teen tournament. So it's kind of what I would do. Aside from that, you can make the questions a little bit easier, but not a lot. Like if you want to turn it down, then turn it down just 1 click. Or have more pop culture questions. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I do like how, I will say, I love how Jeopardy has a lot of throwbacks. So if you've watched a lot of shows, kind of like Wheel does, so if you watch the shows enough, and Price too, you know what you're getting into. It's inevitable that certain things will be asked about. For sure. Like, there's been a certain word, see if you can find it, that's on the Trivia Nationals page that they've used every 5 years or so since 97, and nobody has ever gotten it right. I think it's going to come this year, and it's going to be a triple stumper again. But it's hard. I think it's étagere. I think it's étagere. It's French for chest. That's all you got to know. So.
Okay.
But I think if they make it easier, you're focusing on signaling device skill more, and maybe they do want to emphasize that. I don't know if they do, because as much as we say it's a game of answers and questions, that's obviously not the entirety of the game. Because if you take you take anybody who's good at Jeopardy, they probably can get roughly the same amount right. And maybe not necessarily, because I remember hearing an old statement that 60% is the baseline for an average player, 70 for a champion, 80 for a tournament of champions player, and then 90 is
Winner.
like an all-time, like a tournament of champions winner and so forth like that. So,
Sure.
but consider how small those bands are. And we're going to talk about bandings within small groups later. But that's really only like a few clues, depending on that really separate the two. And maybe they do want to focus on signaling device strength because that is a very separate and very obviously unique skill to that. Because being quick on the signaling device is not going to make your trivia knowledge any better. I'm sure there's no correlation between the two. I mean, how you do in the game, obviously, but in terms of individual skills.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna move on. But both of us, do you think Mike Richards will take on both shows, or is he gonna take over just one?
I mean, my thought is that he does both. I've heard a few names bandied about that are very dark horses to run either independently. I just don't see that. I mean, the fact is that, and I said this when Mike got hired too. What a perfect fit! He's getting hired for a company that has an EP currently that does 2 shows. Mike runs 2 shows. Oh, how about that? He likes it. I like it. It's life serial. He's
What a
gonna do.
coinkydink.
Yeah.
All right.